Hello, I'm Bob Ganzak, and this is MotivationU the Podcast. Hello, I'm Bob Ganzak, and this is MotivationU the Podcast, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill at Celebration Point inside the Coach's Podcast Room. And it's a show about leadership. And we talk about, that you don't have to have a famous name and have a billion-dollar empire to be a great leader. Some of the best leaders in our world maybe living next door to you, or maybe they're in one of your classes like my guest today. My guest today is Jose Raven, a student here at the University of Florida. Welcome, Jose.
Thank you, Bob. Really thankful for this opportunity.
Well, I am so glad to have you here. The moment I heard your defining moment talk, I wanted to have you be a part of this. So I'm so glad that you said yes. Yes, Jose is in our Dale Carnegie class, Skills for Success, that we are in week 6, coming up on week 6 at Hotel Indigo here at Celebration Point. If you would like to get a hold of how you can be a part of one of those programs, we have upcoming classes in Lake City, in Gainesville. We'll have more in Jacksonville. I'm meeting with the mayor of Valdosta tomorrow, so that we can start creating one there. We're working on one in Douglas, Georgia, another one in Tifton, Georgia. So there's a lot of opportunities. And you can go to www.dalecarnegie, well, let's start that over again, jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. So jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. Find a course. You'll see the one starting April 26th here in Gainesville. So just go ahead and sign up. You can register right online. That's how you did it, right?
Yeah.
Easy process. And so glad you did. So, Jose, what are you studying at the University of Florida right now?
So right now I'm studying industrial engineering, industrial and systems engineering, and I have a minor in business administration.
Okay, so in industrial engineering, help our listeners that might not know all of the intricacies of the engineering world. What does that entail, and the end product when you go out into the business world? What type of work would you be doing?
Yeah, so what industrial engineers do is optimize processes. So any type of processes, any type of systems, just make them better. Just see how they work and break them down in steps, and then see how you can improve each of those steps. So I got interested in industrial engineering because I come from a family. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. He's not anymore working on business, My parents also are entrepreneurs. So I always had that idea in my mind. I was great at math also, and science and stuff. I really like technology, so I said this is a great option. My uncles were also industrial engineers. And I saw that opportunity I said, I want to have a business and then optimize it, make it better, and so it's kind of that along those lines. Mm-hmm. A lot of programming also in computers.
So people that graduate with a degree in industrial engineering, what type of companies are they going to work for? What are they doing at those companies?
Well, so it's any type of company actually, because it's any type of process that you can improve. There's many areas of industrial engineering. There's supply chain, so making sure that you get a raw product, raw materials, and moving them along a process, and then getting an end product to your customers. So that's like managing the whole supply chain. There's also facility planning, so like planning how you're gonna set up all of the machines, and doesn't have to be machines, but like
Correct.
steps of any process physically. There's also quality control, so you have products that are being made, and you have to monitor with the errors that you're having, and the successes that you're having and everything. That's a lot of statistics and stuff. There's many areas, and that can be applied to any type of businesses, like restaurants, or I don't know, airports,
Okay.
airlines, you know.
Which
anything.
part of that whole world interests you the most?
Well, as I said, I first got interested because I subconsciously thought that I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a lot of industrial engineering and engineering in general in my family, so I thought that's a path. That's a good path. That was what I think made me interested in pursuing this career.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what I really like is being an entrepreneur, just doing things by myself, and creating that value and documenting that value that I made, that I brought to my family or society, community. So
That's awesome. That's great. I remember when I did a lot of work with Northrop Grumman a few years ago, I was intrigued by the industrial part of the engineering where they were, you know, I'm exaggerating this, but they were counting steps that one of their mechanics had to walk from where they picked up, you know, a ratchet and went to where they worked on the plane, because they were trying to create efficiencies in those areas to cut down the wasted time. Because in building that, I mean, time is money. You know, the faster they can build the plane, the more quality that they can build it. You know,
Yeah.
the less stress on the employee who's going back and forth from where they pick up their tools to, you know, the safety that is involved in it, not leaving tools around, and creating that entire ambiance and that environment in order to work in that area was the industrial engineering. And I was always intrigued by the attention to detail that they needed to have. You know,
Yeah.
that just fascinated me. Thoughts on that?
They scale, like the idea is to really measure very detailed every process, everything, like time and anything that's happening on a process, so that you can later scale it and distribute it all over your, you know, locations and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So one example that I really like to explain when someone asks me like what industrial engineering is like Amazon's delivery.
Mm-hmm.
So they have, I don't know the number, but probably millions of different, many millions of different deliveries that they have to do every day probably, and they need to have trucks that do those deliveries, and they need to see what routes we're going to do and how many trucks we should have, what type of trucks we should have, capacities of each of the trucks, to make all of those deliveries in the least amount of time with the least amount of resources in the most efficient way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big problem, right?
Yes. You know, when you think about that, you know, the logical side of you says, you know, get one truck out there and one driver, and, you know, pack it filled to the and get them out there and go, and that would be the most efficient. Yet it might be more efficient to have 10 drivers with 10 trucks not filled to the brim, where, you know, because that one driver by the end of the day is slowing down and is probably more apt to get into an accident or
Yeah.
have a challenge that goes on, or you know, that's fascinating. You know, you don't think about it that way. Now, obviously, you weren't born in Gainesville, as we talk. Let's talk about your life, how you got to the University of Florida. Where were you born, Jose?
I was born in Maracaibo, Venezuela.
Okay.
It's a city that shares border, well, not the city, but the state shares border with Colombia. It's on the west side of Venezuela.
Okay. And you were mentioning that your parents are both entrepreneurs. What do they do? Are they still in Venezuela?
Yeah.
What do they do there?
So my father studied civil engineering and my mother studied architecture. So when they graduated, they decided to start working together to build stuff together. And my father built a lot of like banks, buildings, and many, when Venezuela was in another situation. And my mother would help him like with the design and everything.
So they're both engineers?
No, architecture and architect and civil engineer.
Okay.
So they would work, they would, complement each other with.
Uh-huh.
And then my mother started a furniture business. They found a furniture brand in Brazil that they really liked, and they started bringing those furniture to Venezuela, to my city. And yeah, that's what they do. That's an entrepreneur.
So how many people, what size of a city is this your hometown?
Really, I haven't seen the numbers, never, but I think...
Is it like bigger than Gainesville?
Yeah, like the thing there is that there's such a strong inequality. So I really lived in a little like small bubble.
Uh-huh.
And then when you go out of that bubble, there's like places, you go like 40 minutes out of our, like where I lived, like the downtown, I don't know how it should be called.
You can...
But you live like, you drive for 30, 40 minutes, and there's already like streets already, how do you say that, like not asphalt, just
dirt
yeah.
streets.
And it's another reality, it's another world, it's like two different places. So that's why I never thought about like how many people are here, because it's big, there's a lot of people, but you don't get to see it, you're always on the same spot. Like I never walk on the streets in my city because it's dangerous. So
what was going to grade school and high school like in your city?
It was interesting, very different than here. It was very strict. I went to a school that's very religious, so I would have to go with my white polo inside of my pants, and then long white socks, completely black shoes. There couldn't be like a Nike sign because you wouldn't be allowed to enter the school. So it was very interesting, and I have a fact from that time that I really like, and I didn't thought about it as I started to decide what I was going to study and everything. But when I was in high school, I think after like it's like first year of high school, when we had an exam, I would summarize, if we had like 30 pages of information for the exam, I would summarize it like in 1 or 2 pages, and then I would sell it. And I started selling it in my classroom, and I think it was like $2 per summary. So I started selling in my classroom, then in the other sections of my year. Then when I passed to the second year, I hired students from the first year, so they would sell my summaries from the last year, and I would still make my summaries, and I kept that going like until my third year. Wow. And then I had salespeople, literally, like, and I didn't know anything about sales or management or leadership or anything. And then school like coordinator just shut it down.
You had your own little business going,
Yeah.
like Cliff Notes, Jose Notes. That
Yeah,
is
something
awesome.
like Study Edge or something here.
Uh-huh.
Smoking Notes is the name here.
It was what?
It's Smoking Notes is like something similar here in at UF that they summarize everything for the exams.
Wow, that was pretty. You just what were some of the activities that you did while you were in school? The extracurricular activities. Was there athletics? Was there music? What was the environment in your high school like?
What I did was I played the drums. So when I was in high school, also I think before high school, I would take drums lessons every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think it was like 2 hours every day for like 2 years. And there was a band from my school. We had a fair or something every year, like near December. So they would play this gaita, is like a music that we listen there. And I was part of that group, and I was the drummer. So I got to like practice every week, and it was a nice experience.
That's great. We're talking with Jose Raven. Jose is a student of mine in the Dale Carnegie class here in Gainesville, and he's also a student at the University of Florida. A fascinating young man who and we'll get into his story of how he got to Gainesville too here in a little while. But just a fascinating story of sometimes we are in a situation, those of us who were born and raised and grew up, some of us, not all of us, that grew up in the United States, we don't understand the journey that other people take to get to where they are. And we look at them and go, whoa, cool, that student's from so-and-so. Well, what is that journey, from so-and-so? So how many languages do you speak? Just
English, Spanish, and then I just did like for probably like 3 months I did Duolingo. Have you seen that app?
No.
It's like an app that gamifies language learning. So I did it for like 3 months, 1 hour a day, and I learned conversational French. So I can defend myself if I'm thrown out there.
So I think we even talked about it in class one time that Doreen Wiebe, our graduate assistant, she was going after, I believe, when she met Freddie, she was in Paris studying to get a doctorate in something. I don't know if it's French journalism or what it was. I don't remember, but that it amazes me sometimes when and you see it in our class. We have Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Greece, Bulgaria,
Peru also, I think.
Yes, Peru.
Yeah, there's everything.
More, Lebanon, people coming from all over, and usually, and that's all in one class. I mean, I like Cuba. I don't think I mentioned Cuba, and you and Talia Milan sit right in front of me, every single class, and you talk to each other in Spanish, right?
Yeah.
And like, I got to talk to him. I got to say to him, hey, come on, I can't understand that. You got to talk to me, and you got to talk in a way that I can understand what you two are saying to each other. You could be making fun of me, and I'd have no clue, But my point of that is that, many a times, and you see people get up in front of the class, and they're inhibited because English is their second or third or fourth or fifth language. And so they're nervous about talking in that language. And yet the challenge is really with those of us that only know one language. So I'm fascinated by that. And I love the different tonal, the accents and the use of words. It fascinates me. Have you seen that as a challenge since you've come to the States? And why, why and how were you taught English early on?
So I went to a preschool where the language was English. It was an international school for like 3 years. So that's why I knew how to speak English. When I came here the first time, I didn't understand my classes because I wasn't used to just seeing classes of university classes in English. So it took a while to get a hold. But what you're saying, I think it's really interesting. I've noticed it. I've seen some speeches that there's an accent there. Obviously, I have it. We all have it with the international people. And also inhibition and nervousness and everything. And they're still awesome speeches. So it doesn't matter the grammar errors, accent, nervousness, body movement. It's just what you're saying. Like, I think you don't never know who you don't know.
That's right.
And sometimes we think we do.
Yeah, that's true. You bring something up there that is extremely interesting, and there's a group called Toastmasters that you're able to go out and learn how to give talks, and which is a great organization. One of the things that they do is they coach you or they grade you on your ums and your ahs, and Mr. Carnegie had a different thought process to that. He felt that if you were able to convey your message to your audience in a effective way, that those ums and ahs would go away. Yet when you get up there and you know you're going to be downgraded by somebody in the room if you say or now all of a sudden you're thinking about not saying or ah, and your focus is not on communicating to your audience. That's a big difference between what we do. So we really don't care about the ums and ahs. We know as you get more comfortable, they will start going away, and they do. And you see that from week 1 to now coming into week 6. You see that going away, and that is our coaching methodology too. It's not as much about mechanics as it is about who that person is. And you see, when I coach somebody, I'm not concerned as much about, other than like in week 4 when we're talking about gestures and being a little bit more animated. It's about who they are and helping them bring out who they are and sharing that with their audience, and that's important. So I hope you're seeing that.
It's awesome. Like it sounds so simple. Just be yourself. Just don't think. Don't be self-conscious. Just be yourself. Say whatever goes through your mind.
Yeah.
Sounds so simple, but it's so difficult. Like I tend to
we
just
all do.
Adapt. Adapt.
Well, it was kind of funny. I was listening to some loud rock and roll music in my truck, kind of getting fired up for our podcast today. And Jose pulled up behind me, and as I was getting out of the truck, Jose got out, and we started walking here to this beautiful place, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, here at Celebration Point. And he said, "Is it okay to be nervous?" Yeah, we're all nervous. And those things do go away. Yet what Jose just said was what I suggest to him: just be yourself. I remember last week when we had Rabbi Goldman and Chani Goldman on, and he was saying to me before that this is kind of nervous. I didn't know we were going to be on video, and we're not looking for anything profound to be said. Just share ideas. Just be you, and be open enough to to be you. What year student are you at UF?
It's kind of interesting
Okay.
because I started in Venezuela, in a university there in Maracaibo. I did around 1.5 of mechanical engineering, and then I came here. I got some of those classes, like the equivalent of
Transferred,
to those,
like,
yeah. And I did 1.5 years in Santa Fe College, just general engineering. Then I did 2 semesters at UF of mechanical engineering, and then I decided to change to industrial engineering. So I did probably like a year of industrial engineering, and I also got the business minor, and I've registered several different classes from everywhere just to, you know, explore and learn other things. So it's kind of, I'm in my like 4th, 5th year,
Okay.
but I still have like 1.5 years more. So it's just because I've been all over the place.
So, like 2024, you'll get your degree in industrial engineering.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. That's great. Well, I'm glad you're going to be around here for a little more. Before, what are your plans afterwards? You want to stay in this general area? Where do you want to set up your family's, your future family's life? Where are you looking for that?
Yeah, I love Gainesville. I feel like at home here. People are very, very nice, very open, and the city is beautiful. The nature is different than like crazy mountains and beaches and everything. It's very unique, but it's very welcoming. So I really love this place. The place where I plan to be in the future with my family, I've always been between LA and Miami, just because I love LA. But in Miami, there's a lot of Venezuelan people. That's like the capital outside of Venezuela. So I have a family there. I have a lot of friends and people that I know.
Yeah.
So I see that as a more...
Yeah, we've had a few students that have, from Meldon Law, hopefully you'll meet him, Charles Rickey. Charles worked in radio in Miami for a long time. I believe in your class, I believe that Amanda Lopez grew up in Miami. You may be able to reach out to her and learn about it. Miami is one of my favorite cities in the country. I absolutely love Miami. I love the Art Deco. I love the convergence of the people. I love the Cuban influence and the Latin America influence that is there in the city. And somebody once said to me, a friend of mine said, it's great for a weekend, but it can get a little pricey over a long period of time.
Yeah.
But you're going to be an entrepreneur, and you're going to have your own business and your own company, your organization. You're going to be hugely successful. You'll be able to afford that, right? That's where it's going to be. So we're going to take a break here in a couple of minutes. Let's do some housekeeping for a moment. You find us on Facebook Live. If you have a question for Jose, just go ahead and type it into the comment section, and Evan will get us a question somehow. And also, we're on like 39 different areas. I mean, you can find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast from, you can find us there. It's really great. YouTube will be uploaded to YouTube afterwards, and you'll be able to get it there. I've got a lot of people from Twitter, find me because I post it on Twitter all the time, and they reach out to me and say, "Wow, this is really cool. I like this." So and then also Jacksonville.DaleCarnegie.com is where you can register for that next Dale Carnegie class. We have a lot of more things that I want to chat with you, Jose, when we come back from break. One of the things I want to talk about is that experience that you had in college. in Venezuela, because I think that might be something that people really would like to see. This is Motivation U, the podcast.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Hello, I'm Bob Ganzak. It's Motivation U, the podcast. Welcome back. We're here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. A beautiful, beautiful sunshiny day. I'm staring out the window, looking at that incredible blue sky. We're inside the coach's podcast room. This is an awesome restaurant. I was talking to Jose, my guest Jose Raven. I was talking to Jose earlier. He came here one time. Smart man. Not that he came one time, he should come every week. Smart man that he came here for Valentine's Day. Good choice, good choice. And it's just an awesome place. The visors upstairs, the rooftop bar is a great place to mix with a lot of Gator alumni and Gator supporters. It's just awesome place to be. And even once in a while, I haven't seen him around lately, but sometimes we even see Coach Spurrier walking around and doing different things. I haven't seen him for the last couple of weeks. Andrew Johnstone is around, the general manager. Jose and I saw Chef Mark today, the head chef here. Awesome people. Just the way the place looks. At exit 384 coming down I-75 if you're coming from the north. It's still 384 if you're coming from the south. But I'm coming downhill all the time and not going uphill. So it's exit 384. Just get off. See Celebration Point. This incredible development that is here just off to the side with a lot of restaurants and stores and more growth and a Bass Pro Shops, and it's just a great place to be.
Yeah, it's just growing so fast. It's amazing.
Jose, we were talking in class, and you and I have talked outside of class many a times about your journey. And I was telling you that little story. Sometimes we get into a place where we are in life, and no matter what it is like, we become comfortable there. Now, as you talked about, your little bubble was probably a beautiful little city, but when you got outside of that, it was not as beautiful as the little bubble that you lived in, right? But you also said that you didn't go outside a lot because it was dangerous. And yet, there are so many people that will remain in that environment. Now, sometimes it's mental. You know, sometimes it's a mental environment that I'm just from the wrong side of the tracks. Yeah, I'm not smart enough to do that. I'm not good enough. I never can do those things. I can't get up and give a talk. That's not me. You know, I can't overcome stress. That's just the way I am, you know. You left that behind. What was the impetus to strike out and leave Venezuela and come to America?
I was lucky because my mother has always been very disciplined. And when I was a little kid, I was learning the multiplication tables, and she would stay with me until 5 a.m., me crying, and I would still have to see that table with tears in my face and learn that thing, because if I didn't learn it, I wouldn't go to sleep. So I had that discipline, that strive for growth and for excellence and like perfectionism sometimes. So I was there for a year in college, and the situation there in Venezuela it's crazy. It's just
describe the craziness that you described to me and that you described to the class.
So my city is not the capital, Maracaibo. Capital is Caracas. And what's happening throughout the years, like many years ago, I haven't seen any other president in my entire life. Well, there's two, but from the same group, you know, the same party. Mm-hmm. So what's happening is that all of the efforts are being focused on the capital, and then the rest of the country just, you know, do whatever you want and solve your situations there. And we had this governor that was like a gang leader or something, and he was the governor of the state. Mm-hmm. So our city just went degraded so hard, and that was reflected obviously on our schools and universities, public, and also in the private, but a little bit less. And I went to a public university that's literally next to my grandfather's house, and all of my family went there, so it was very convenient, you know. Mm-hmm. Whenever I had a break, I would go to my
grandpa's house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was very comfortable. Uh-huh. But when I went there, it was all just forgotten. You know, the hallways were all full of leaves, and nobody would take care of it. Classrooms didn't have electricity. The whole building didn't have electricity most of the time. It was a lucky day when you found a classroom that had electricity, and you didn't even have an assigned classroom, because some days you would get in a classroom and there was a mess in there. And one day we went into the classroom that we were taking classes there normally. There was only one chair in the middle of the classroom, and it was all full of blood. And we said, like, okay, you know, nobody knows what happened here. Nobody cares. Let's go to another classroom. It was normal.
Wow, that's a new story to me. You didn't tell us that part of that. So it was almost like somebody was executed there. And
yeah, nobody knows.
Who knows? Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Nobody's going to ask the question either.
Yeah.
You just go to a different class. Well, this one's occupied, right?
Yeah. Normally there
Shouldn't make
was
fun of it, but it is what it is. You know.
That's what we think there, that we shouldn't make fun of it, but it's just so crazy what you see there everywhere. So some things are like actually kind of funny, you know, because like it doesn't make sense. How is that possible? I never went to the bathrooms there because it was dangerous. You could get robbed. If I would go do something out of the classroom, I would have to take all of my stuff. I wouldn't leave it there.
Wow.
I couldn't take my cell phone out of my phone. And it was crazy, and that was also reflected in the teachers. So and the teachers were also having a hard time because they weren't being paid well. Probably, I don't know, like I think $50 a month is a lot. If that was, I think it was
that
way
much,
less.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was way less, but I know that was a lot. There was an exam, a chemistry exam. We went through the whole semester in that class. Nobody understood anything, and the teacher didn't. I didn't feel that she was very interested in transmitting that knowledge. You know, nobody understood anything. Sometimes she wouldn't go to class, and we had to just wait there for like 40 minutes, and she didn't show up. We would have to leave, and then at the end, when we had like the final exam, we were all like staring at the sheet. It was super hard exam. Nobody knew anything. Then one student raised his hand. He's like, "Teacher, we don't know what to do here. What can we do?" And then she said, "You guys can go get a coffee for me, and I'll put 17 out of 20 to all of you." And that was the way it worked, normally for a lot of the classes. So it was a whole mess in every aspect, every point of view.
That was your college life. That was your first year in college.
Yeah.
What type of grades did you get in high school? Were you a top-level student?
Yeah, I was like, I think the third of the the year.
Of
Like,
the entire class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I went home with a 15 out of 20, it was a mess, you know.
That's trouble, right?
Yeah, real trouble.
And so you were a top-notch student going to this university that many people in your family had graduated from and gone on to success from that college. And then you also told me that sometimes you had to bring your own markers and your own
Yeah.
supplies. So they didn't supply things to you?
Teachers didn't have resources. They weren't paid anything, like, so they didn't have markers. There were only like the old equipment from the university, and teachers would just like throw it at us and just learn. You know, here's the manual, just use it and learn how to use that and do your practice, your laboratory or whatever.
Wow.
It was like machines from, I don't know.
From like the 1990s.
Yeah.
When did you decide? How did you decide? And what was the process for you to come to go to school here in Florida?
So what really made me think is another aspect that I had never thought about. My parents were having a hard time with their furniture store. They weren't selling, like, probably they would go months without a single sale because there was no money there. There is no money there for people to buy new furniture. Nobody is like planning to, I'm gonna move to a new apartment, you know. So there was no sales, there was no market, and just naturally I thought I'm gonna help, and I started learning all of this marketing and social media ads and stuff and everything. I started helping them and started bringing some clients, and that really gave me that motivation, you know, like I can do something about this, because when I went to the university there, I was barely passing. I was not motivated. I was miserable.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell anybody. I was just going through, and that really gave me that motivation that I said, I can do something else. I am lucky that my parents could afford it, and that was also a factor in their decision, that I was helping. I was actually bringing revenue to their business. So that's when I decided. My cousin also was coming from Caracas, and I said,
Was coming here to...
yeah, to Gainesville. And I saw the Santa Fe College transition to UF, and then there's a scholarship for Latin American people in UF if you get the 4.0 something GPA and stuff. So I said that would be a path that I can pursue.
So you did.
Yeah.
You pursued that. And how long were you at Santa Fe?
It was a year and a half, probably.
And you maintained that level of grade point to be able to get the scholarship to come here to
Yeah.
UF. Wow.
It was hard.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Yeah, I'm sure it was. What was like the social atmosphere when you first came here? You have a girlfriend. You've mentioned her in some of your talks before and things.
Yeah.
Did you meet her here?
No, she's from Maracaibo, and
You
and
knew her in
yeah,
back home.
yeah, but we have been together like for probably like almost 2 years.
Uh-huh.
But when I came here, I was single, you know.
But she came also to go to school here, or is
No, she lives in Miami actually. So
oh, that's one of the reasons you
That's
like
not-
Miami too. Huh? Do you get down there often, or?
not a lot, just because it's very busy here.
Uh-huh. What-
UF is.
What was that transition like? Because you know that little story I was telling you during the break about that we tend to get mired into an area where we don't want to leave because we get comfortable in that area. Now you didn't jump out of your comfort zone. You leaped out of your comfort zone. It was a huge transition.
Yeah.
What was that like, and what were some of the challenges, and how did you overcome them?
So one thing that comes to mind is that first my parents set the goal of get your best grades and everything in school, and I got it. And then I had that experience there in college in Venezuela, but then I proposed myself another goal, coming here and getting that best grade again, and I got it. And then the goal was to get to UF and get the scholarship, and I got it. And then everybody would tell me like, hey, you're not gonna maintain that 4.0 in the UF, that's impossible. But I thought I can do it because I've done all of this stuff, so why cannot I, and I got the 4.0 as well and the scholarship. And then I aimed to an internship, and it was also a hard process, like all of this new stuff, like going to clubs, joining different,
Organizations.
yeah. And I got the internship, so like the whole point, I'm not bragging or anything.
It's okay to brag. I will share with you. I've known enough about this young man over the last 5-6 weeks that go ahead and brag. We need more young people like you to hear their stories, so other young people can understand that they can do it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going through with this point. You were talking about how we tend to stay in the comfortable places and situations and even thoughts that we have. And having those experiences really made me aware of the importance of our goals, and whatever you imagine, whatever you can conceive in your mind, you can achieve it. And I was aware of that unconsciously. But then I started reading books when I was 22 years old, 1 year ago. First time I fully read a book. I had checked How to Win Friends and Influence People because I was thinking I should read something, that I've seen everywhere, that in books and stuff. So I Googled, like, what is the best book? And there it was, How to Win Friends and Influence People, like the first place. So I said, this is the one. Started reading it like until half of the book, and then I left it. Then I started reading it again, went halfway through, forgot about it. Then when I was 22 years old, like 4 years after that first time, I read my first complete book because I had an internship experience that I didn't enjoy, didn't like. And I had that need of doing something new, a new goal that really excites me. And I had that impulse of buying that book. It was Think and Grow Rich. I read it, and I started questioning myself and thinking about what am I thinking? What's in my mind every day? What am I acting? Why am I acting the way I act? And I started reading all of these other books about habits and the mind, the subconscious mind, and the brain, and all of this stuff. And now I see it clear. more clearer. When you say that we tend to stay on the comfortable places, we kind of live in the past. We just, and it sounds silly, like living in the past, but what I realize is that we all have habits that make probably like more than 40-60% of our day. Whatever we do during the day,
Good
most
habits
of it,
and bad habits.
yeah. And they tend to be the same thing, you know, because they build in our brain, in this like little place in our brain. They're just built in there. There's a book that talks about it, and this guy had his hippocampus, I think that's how you say it in English. He had like an infection, it just disappeared, so he didn't have memory. But he still knew how to go to the bakery shop or like to the kitchen and get some food, because those were habits. He just did it automatically. And we have all of those stuff. Right?
And bred it in us, and you know.
Yeah, and we're not even aware.
Atomic Habits is a good book.
Oh yeah, I
too.
have that one in my list.
James Cleary, Atomic Habits. That's a good one also.
Yeah, that's the next one I'm reading.
So How to Win Friends and Influence People that's book by Dale Carnegie, and it's basically the class that you're in was built off of that. That was very influential in you, and then you signed up for the class. When I saw the UFL, uf.edu, and then I looked more into who you were when you signed up and you were a student, I was intrigued by that. And we talked on the phone and had a conversation. Why did you reach out, and what was that process?
Well, so I've always been tended to be an introvert. So I have a hard time when I'm in a place with a lot of people, like people I don't know, like strangers, and I get uncomfortable and everything. So when I was a kid, also my parents took me. I said that in one of my talks. My parents took me like to 3 doctors, and I think one of them said that I was kind of had a retard or something because I didn't speak. I was too little words. So that was my way of living, you know. I was always in my mind and thinking, and I didn't bring that out. Then I read that book for coincidence, you know. What's the best book around, and I read it, and I realized that I was lacking that very important skill. And I started practicing it. I saw the benefits, but I just didn't have the motivation enough to realize it, or like the environment around me. And then when I read Think and Grow Rich, I said, this book is really good and made me think. I should check again, you know, I should check out again this other book. So I bought it and started reading it. And I got to the end, and then at the end he says, like, hey, I have this course, you know, my foundation has this course and stuff. And I just researched it a little bit, and I found, it's funny because I found there was a course in Fort Lauderdale and then Jacksonville. And I was choosing between the two. I didn't know there was a Gainesville one. It's kind of like hidden. It doesn't, because it's the Jacksonville franchise, right?
Yep.
So, and then I saw 2 coaches. I saw you, and I don't know, I thought like I don't know, I had that, you know, that feeling that, yeah. And I'm so glad that I that I took that decision, that I made that decision, because it's been an amazing experience, and just like you leading by example, demonstrating that what you're teaching is real. It's so valuable.
Thank you.
And so that was kind of why I got into it.
It's incredible to see the people change in just weeks, and how their confidence grows. And I'm just amazed at the class is getting together for pizza tonight. I guess I just saw that earlier. I won't be able to make that, of course, but just seeing that how the group has come together, and even socially awkward situations become more comfortable.
Yeah.
It's still awkward. There's still nervousness, yet you're learning how to work your way through that. Now, you're starting your own company. I was so proud to see that online. Tell me about your company quickly. We have about 4 to 5 minutes left. Tell me about your company.
So the idea came from all of these new ideas that I had about the books that I was reading. Started thinking about the mind and everything and habits and stuff. So I had this idea. I read a book that's called Psycho-Cybernetics. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen that, yes.
So I also have been very connected with the nature here in Gainesville. I go to Lake Alice and just sit there and meditate and stuff. And this idea came of how the trees grow in every type of circumstance, and they have harsh changes and weather changes and everything, and they just keep growing. And actually, the harsh weather is what makes them grow, because they have that difficulties and they need to be more strong. So I thought about that idea, and then the idea of psycho-cybernetics, and this idea just came of a company called Cybertree. So it's the cyber of the machines, because psycho-cybernetics says that we all have a machine in our head, and whatever you put in that machine, it will do it. So if you put, I want to be something, and then your mind is a machine that will make it happen. Yeah.
It's that computer-like mentality of, all right.
Yeah, like you put this code and you run it, and then someday it'll happen. Yeah. So I got that idea of Cybertree, like the tree for the growth. There's no
matter what happens.
Yeah, and also what you've said in class, that all of us humans have this massive potential, and we don't tap into it enough, just a little bit. And I had that idea also in mind. So I also like technology, and I helped my parents that time with their business with all this technology. So I thought this is very personal to me, and that's where the idea came from, Cybertree. And I look at it as a technology and people, and using technology to improve people's lives and to help people accomplish their goals. And I found this industry that I didn't know, internet marketing. So building websites and optimizing and ranking websites, putting them everywhere in the internet where people are looking at for their what they need. And I started learning about it. I joined a community of 7,000 people. It's like a professional community where all of them do this. And that's where all of this was born, so Cybertree. And then I have this other project that's called the Gator Biz Review, that comes from all of this development that we're seeing here, this beautiful restaurant that's so, detailed. And I just want to be part of it. I just want to get to know other like-minded people that are working on their dreams and on their goals. And if I can help in any way, I'd love to help and join other projects. So, and that's a way, the Gator Biz Review is a way to just document all of that information so people can find it online. And then
where can they find you for that Gator Biz Review?
It's on, both of them are on Facebook and Instagram, and I have the website also. It's gatorbizreview.com or
Gator, B-I-Z?
Yeah.
Review.com.
And or Gator Biz Review on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
And then
they can find you on Facebook and all of your companies, everything that you're doing, and follow you and join you. And great, awesome.
It's just starting, so there's not a lot of content, but there's the idea there.
Every road starts someplace.
Yeah.
Every road starts someplace. It's got to start. Sometimes we just have to go after what we want. That's just one of those things. Jose, I thank you for being here today. I'm blessed to have you be a part of that class and to join me here and just share your story. I would love to have you back again down the road and talk more about it.
Thank you very much
for being here.
Really, really appreciate this. I'll never forget this experience.
Well, thank you, and neither will I. Thank you for watching and listening and being part of this. I want to thank, while I'm at the process of thanking people, I would like to thank Evan Miller, our production coordinator extraordinaire. thank the great people here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill for letting us be a part of this, coming to you from the Coach's Podcast Room right here at Celebration Point. Hopefully you'll meet somebody one time, Svein Dirkelbotten. He's the developer. He's from Norway. Wonderful guy, graduate of class. So, thank you very much. Have a marvelous weekend. I'm Bob Ganzak. This is Motivation U, the podcast.